Okay, so hi, Gemma and Amie. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So, for our listeners, we have Amie Atkinson, who is the head of Women Supporting Women at Princess Trust, and we have Gemma Craggs, who is head of Principal Giving and former leader of the Women Supporting Women initiative at the Princess
I
Trust.
put the mother of the
Yeah.
Women's Supporting Initiative at the Princess Trust. It very much feels like my baby.
Am I the daughter then?
You're the new parent.
You're the aunt. Yes, I was like, is founder the right word? Like, I don't exactly know how to qualify you, but definitely I think mother is a good way to describe it. Um, and Women Supporting Women has been going now for a number of years. If you guys, it started in 2018, right? And is really an initiative focused on working with women philanthropists to direct their giving to support underserved women um, who are uh, being supported at the Princess Trust and really making sure they have equal opportunities and can increase the number of women that are being supported through the Princess Trust. So, this conversation is really a chance to hear more about how the Women Supporting Women initiative got started, where you guys are at with it to date, how's it going, any of the kind of learnings that you might have around this program and how others in the sector can learn from what you guys have done and
Never a lot of learnings. An awful lot of learnings.
Yeah, well, it's so successful now. So it'd be really great to hear from you about tell me a little bit more about it, what the purpose is and where you guys are up to.
Okay. So yes, you're right, Alex. Women's Supporting Women was established in 2018. The Princess Trust has been around for almost 50 years though, so it's quite a new initiative within the charity. And the reason that it was set up was simply because we've always supported more men than young women at the Princess Trust, and it's just not good enough. So Gemma can talk more about the history of how it was started, but we really made a commitment as a trust to raise vital funds to increase gender parity on our programs. So that was kind of the initial startings of the initiative, and from there it's just grown and grown and grown. But what we are seeing is that we're almost 5 years on from the start of it, and the need for young women is just incredibly high, if not higher right now. So we're in this exciting period of reaching our 5th birthday and restarting the campaign and almost needing to raise more funds than ever. So it's just really interesting to see we've achieved so much, but there's still so much more to do. But I don't know if you want to share anything about how you started it.
So I am over a decade at the Princess Trust now, and we first started Women Supporting Women just because we really saw a gap in our philanthropic offering. When I first joined the philanthropy team, our major donors were almost predominantly always men, white men of a certain age, which is quite normal for the philanthropic sector. But it's really important that the Princess Trust are reflective of the communities we serve. So we now have a real strong focus on, more diversity within our major donors, but also more women supporting our work with young people as well. And we'll probably move on to the successes, but one of the proudest things, which will kind of hopefully definitely outlive me at the Princess Trust, is the fact that our major donor base is so much more diverse than what it was 10 years ago, and that can only be a good thing for the young women to see other people that look like them supporting them, so that you've got this really nice virtuous circle of role modeling and people that look like them.
Yeah, amazing. And can you talk me through a little bit of what the process was for getting this initiative started as far as setting up a women's focus giving group? What did that look like for you guys? Was it events focused? Was it pure kind of fundraising? Can you talk about that?
So we've been on a real journey. I suppose one of the major kind of challenges was that the Princess Trust is a charity that doesn't just support young women. So I really had to take the charity on a journey. I did my own research into how much more young men versus young women we were supporting at that time. It was a 40-60 split. and obviously women are half the population. That's not good enough. So I lobbied incredibly hard from really the top down. So starting from our CEO right the way down to our programmatic work, because you have to take everyone on the journey with you. I started fundraising before I got the official sign off, because it's very good to have some proof in the pudding. I really hope they don't mind when they listen to this podcast. But it just really helps to have that case for support. I also looked around the sector and knew that female giving groups can be particularly incredible for raising, really transformational funds. Women do give differently, and we have to be responsive to that. So for the first time ever in the history of the Princess Trust, I was able to sign a restriction that our money would go towards young women on our programs, and now that doesn't seem that transformational, but back then it was an awful lot of work. And perhaps externally, the most key part of starting women, supporting women, was having the most amazing English chair in Chrissy Rucker, founder of the White Company, OBE. She really drove from the front, and I think she's been really inspirational both to myself and Amie. And I think she's inadvertently kind of mentored us as well. And it's great to have a chair who truly believes in what you're trying to do.
And how did you get Chrissy involved? Was she kind of initially one of the people you had worked with to get a gift from, and then kind of were like, let's do this thing together? Or was she kind of appointed after, or was she where did she kind of come in?
She was already giving, which is lovely. She was part of our Enterprise Fellowship network. So she was already familiar with giving groups. The Enterprise Fellowship is very, very male dominated. And we clocked she sat on the Every Woman Awards, which is an award for fantastic female-led businesses. So she was obviously passionate about that space. Over the course of about a year and a half, she took a little bit of convincing, because she was still CEO of her business at that time. So her time was obviously really, really precious, to come on board as our chair. And, looking back, it's probably one of the best decisions we ever made. And, she's also committed to sign up for the next campaign. And she now works really closely with you, Amie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, because I'm stepping into this role 5 years later, and her pull in the campaign is just phenomenal. And she still to this day hosts monthly dinners in her home to invite prospective donors to. This is a really wonderful, intimate experience. And Chrissy puts a lot of love into these evenings and makes everyone feel really special. And, I think without that, we could never have achieved the growth that we've achieved. And not only that, she's also very warm and loving to current members of Women Supporting Women. So she really, goes and says hi at events, and, makes sure that they feel really connected still. So she's in constant communications with them. And I think, having someone who's not a Prince's Trust member of staff to do this is just a wonderful asset, because how tight resources can be within charities. She's just a really wonderful person. So we thank her a lot, don't we, for the success of Women Supporting Women. She's a dream. Quite frankly.
Amazing. And I guess, fast forwarding that 5 years. So can you talk a little bit more about what the group looks like now? What kind of successes have you had?
Mm-hmm. I can start with this. So when we started Women Supporting Women in 2018, we pledged that we would raise £10 million, which actually got increased quite fast from £5 million. So
very quickly.
It got doubled overnight. And we were all a bit nervous.
Ambitious women, that's what it is.
Yes. So where we're at now is we smashed that target. We absolutely smashed it out of the park. And I think this is a real testament to what women can do when they get together. On our 5th birthday, which was in October last year, we were able to announce that we raised £11.8 million for women's.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
Target. So it was really, really incredible. And with that, we've built up a community of around 90 patrons and ambassadors who give multi-year philanthropic pledges to the campaign. So that's just been a wonderful achievement. And alongside that, we've also managed to diversify our products within the trust. So it's not just a philanthropic offer. We also have some ways for brands to get involved with commercial fundraising around International Women's Day. We also have a mass product called the Brilliant Breakfast, which allows people to, you know, put on a breakfast for £20, and sometimes they raise £20,000. So I think, you know, what it's branched into is a pan fundraising campaign within the Prince's Trust. And with that, we've managed to gain internal buy-in for the campaign as well, which has just been really great, hasn't it, Gemma?
Oh, it's been incredible. And just alongside that internal buy-in, we also, I'm not too sure if we informed this strategy, but I like to think we did. The Prince's Trust always has an EDI strategy, but for the first time ever, a couple of years ago, they committed to reaching gender parity on our programmes by 2027, which is a huge leap for us. And obviously that equates to thousands more young women on our programmes. And also they've got a similar statistics for young people from more diverse communities. So that felt like a real win. And I'd like to say we probably would have done that anyway, but I really think Women Supporting Women helped the organisation get there. And for me personally, I think one of our biggest successes was getting a transformational gift from a very established philanthropic family. The Rousings made a 7-figure gift towards Women Supporting Women.
Wow.
They did it in such a way where it was a match funding pot. So in many ways, it leveraged more income because we had to match that 7-figure gift, and it just created this amazing legacy of being like, well, if you give your entire kind of 4-year gift in one go, you'll be able to double it effectively. So that was really great. And I think, you know, they are such an established, amazing philanthropic family that I think it's such a big tick of approval that what we created warranted such a transformational gift.
Amazing. Well, it's fantastic to hear the journey that you've gone on. And it sounds like you're just having all of this success, which is amazing. And I think it's such an incredible model, especially to hear how many women are involved in it, because I think there's a perception that there aren't as many women out there who can give philanthropically. And, you know, maybe women in the UK. I mean, is it mostly women in the UK who are giving? Is it global? Like, what's the proportion?
We've definitely got a higher skew of UK-based donors, or from the UK at least, but we do have international donors as well, and many of them are based in the US, for example, which is great for the Prince's Trust because we have a US arm as well, and we are trying to launch a global women's fundraising campaign at the moment, which will be really, really wonderful for us. But I think, you know, right now, this is potentially a challenge that we're facing, that a lot of our donors in Women Supporting Women are based in London as well, and we don't have many regional donors. And, you know, I think there's several reasons for that, is, you know, resourcing and all of that, but also wealth is sort of concentrated in certain areas of the UK. So I think there is some work to do on diversification of where our donors are based. And maybe once we launch into a global women's campaign, we'll get more international donors as well, which will be really incredible.
And I guess as far as kind of the challenges, so I'm interested in both, I guess, the internal and external. So I think sometimes, you know, from past experience, it's like building that momentum, you have to kind of get those first few people on board from an external perspective in order to kind of validate what you're doing. Did you find that to be the case? And now it kind of has momentum, and obviously you have many years of a success, and you can kind of show what the benefit is for people to get involved. So did you experience challenges from an external perspective, kind of getting people on board, especially maybe in those beginning days? And then additionally, what kind of, I guess, challenges did you kind of come across? You know, you said there was a lot of process you had to go through to get internal buy-in, but even now, is there anything that you're kind of grappling with where it's like, oh, it's maybe prioritization or whatever it might be as an organization? Did you find that maybe the challenges were more so earlier on? Like, where are you guys at with that?
So it's a constant roller coaster of successes and challenges working on a female collective. And I think, you know, Gemma can probably speak to more of the challenges that she faced earlier on in the setup and growing the campaign, which we definitely faced. Maybe that's the best place to start, and then I can go through what we're facing right now.
I think when you want to create something new and innovative, it's always challenging. Even in the most forward-thinking organisations, you're literally coming to, your CEO and saying, take a risk on this. I'm really passionate about it. This is why I think it's going to work. So the stakeholdering I had to do felt like it was endless. And we are an incredible charity, and you have to bring delivery on board with you too. So I made sure that their voices were really represented in what I was trying to do. So I created what I think is still a beautiful case for support. But I had challenges like we do a lot of work in schools, and it's always well girls get better exam results at schools. However, they're much more likely to suffer from mental health problems than young men. So I had to encourage the organisation to think differently. Also, getting other teams on board was a challenge. This is our first ever, and it still is actually, pan fundraising giving group. Normally they were just done in philanthropy, but I was really keen to take the whole organisation along with me, mainly because I had that big £10 million target. But I also knew that corporates really care about diversity. So it just felt we'd be missing such a trick if we didn't make an offering. But ultimately you are coming to a team, and it's another thing they're now having to sell. It's another thing they'll have to prioritise. So I was very lucky in the sense I got some champions in every single area of fundraising, including events, who did a lot of that kind of ambassadorship, a lot of that, come on, you should really do this, it's a great thing for me. So that's definitely something I'd do again. But I just think when you're trying to start anything new anywhere, it's always a challenge.
And I think what we struggle with even to this day is that we're not a female-focused charity. We're a youth employability charity. So I think, that's can be sometimes challenging when you're competing with female-focused only charities who might have these types of networks. And I think, there's almost a dual education piece that needs to happen when you're onboarding a donor, and that's educating them on what the Prince's Trust does, and then educating them on what the need is for women and why that differs to young men, and what Women's Supporting Women is achieving. So I think that complicates it a little bit in terms of like the onboarding experience. Because the Prince's Trust is complex, and you really need to get to know what we do as an organisation before thinking about the gender piece as well. So I think that's still an ongoing struggle. Although I think we know how to tackle it, which is phenomenal, and I think Chrissy does a great job of doing this at her dinners, for example. And I think you've had that struggle, haven't you, internally, of getting buy-in, and I think now we've got the legacy of the complications of working across teams, which happens within charities. So I think everyone's still got different things that they're working on, and I think just that continues to be a challenge. It would be much easier if it was just in the philanthropy team, but we're thrilled that it's not, because it means we can raise so much more money, and it means we can collaborate and do really wonderful things. But it can be challenging at times, and that's just being transparent.
Yeah, no, it's helpful to hear. And I mean, I know I've seen some of the kind of corporate partnerships that you guys are doing as well, which is just phenomenal and amazing to kind of have that brand out there and showcasing women. I think it's such an awesome platform to be able to do it.
We're on Haagen-Dazs at the moment, Alex.
Where was that?
Women's Supporting Women's on Haagen-Dazs ice cream. So we were everywhere now.
Yeah, and
wow.
We have a wonderful campaign called the Change a Girl's Life campaign, which happens around International Women's Day, and we're on Haagen-Dazs ice cream. We're on Barbie t-shirts in Asda. So
I mean, is there a better partnership? Honestly, I think that's the epitome.
Yeah,
you reach
and get a Barbie t-shirt and change a girl's life.
I was so excited when I saw that. I was like, yes, that's so amazing. So huge congrats. And to see how quickly that's actually really developed in 5 years, that's really quite a huge amount of progress. So congrats to both of you for doing that, and all of the women who are involved, all the philanthropists who have made that possible ultimately, and all of the team at the Prince's Trust. So before we wrap up, what would your kind of key piece of advice be to anybody who's considering running a women's kind of focused philanthropy program I guess I think that would be the key audience who you might be wanting to give a word of advice.
Shall I start first?
Yeah, go for it.
I think the most important piece of advice is have a good chair. I think, you know, having someone that can be your external face, your external champion, someone who will do those engagement events, who speaks beautifully about the trust, who has those networks. I know this person is hard to find, but we literally struck gold with Chrissy. We do not have a better friend or ambassador at the Princess Trust than Chrissy. So having a really active chair is key. I would say having a target is also really, really important. I mean, something aspirational. I mean, I was quite happy with 5 million when that was first suggested, and it went up to 10, and I felt my tummy go, ooh. But, you know, we did it, we smashed it. And I think it's testament to what women and the men in our group can do. If you set them a target and it being aspirational, they run towards it. They want to overachieve, which I think is fantastic. And that's the power of giving groups. You come together as a collective and your impact is magnified, you know, like times 1,000. Mm. So that's incredible. And also, this is something I should have really thought about when I set it up, but if it grows rapidly, you've got to be ready for it. And ours grew so rapidly from 6 to 80 and now to 90. And it used to just be me working on it. So doing everything from events to the comms, to the stewardship, to the new business, alongside my other kind of substantive portfolio that I was looking at. It became too much for one person. So I think you need to have a plan if and when it becomes really, really successful. And now, you know, hopefully Amie, you've inherited a team. So Amie now line manages 2 people who also support women, supporting women. In the beginning, my gosh, I think it aged me by about 10 years.
I don't know how you did it, Gemma.
I remember those days because I think I was there at the beginning working alongside you, and you were just like flat out. You like try to go to the gym and like be getting calls of like, we need to do this. So yeah, yeah.
I would add some other things in. I think, you know, thinking about the stewardship journey of a collective giving group is very different. And I think really critically thinking about why are these women joining this network and what are they trying to get out of it is so important. And also being conscious of over stewarding a network. I think that you can become victim of that. And I think you really need to save, you know, your organization's resource to make sure that the funds are going to the women as much as possible. And I think getting that balance right is very, very tough. So I think really thinking about that before you launch is super important, especially if you're going to have some like tiered system like we do. We have an ambassador level, and then we also have patron level, which differs by like 15k a year. And I think, you know, you want to be taking those donors on a different type of journey, and it's really important that you get that right so that they stay and carry on giving and come to events and be part of it. So I think that's something I would consider as well as a piece of advice. And just making sure, you know, you can really illustrate the impact of what you're doing is super important. So getting those comms right, getting those rich, authentic stories of whatever your mission is, and, you know, tracking what progress you're making as well. It's very easy, especially when you go in supercharged growth, to stop tracking things. And I think, you know, we're really lucky at the Trust to have a great tracking system now. We use Tableau for data and impact, and now we're in a really great position that we can track things very easily. So think about this as well as so you can communicate that with donors.
Amazing. Those are really good tips. I think the impact in particular, from previous experience, I think women really like to be informed about where their giving's going. They want to know, they want to be involved, and they want to understand your organization and the impact. So that's really important. So I think those are all great tips and advice. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to have this conversation. It was really amazing learning more about the program, and I'm just so pleased to hear of this success. I think it's such a great model for us to look up to as other people who want to really encourage women's philanthropy at our organization. So thank you so much. And I look forward to speaking with you guys all again in the future.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye. Bye.